For this Vinyasa flow sequence, we begin in mountain pose at the back of the mat. We take an extra few moments here to ground, find a little strength through the body, length through the spine, noticing the breath, checking in. Inhale, arms reach high, clasp all the fingers but the pointer fingers, and exhale to the right for a side bend. Option to lift the gaze here, listen to the neck. Inhale back to center. On your next exhale, lean to the opposite side. Again, option to lift the gaze here. On the next inhale, we come back to center, release the bind, cactus our arms. On an exhale, push the pelvis forward, lean back, standing back bend. Inhale, reach high. Exhale, swan dive into your first forward fold. Release the head, hips are high, feet are planted firmly. On our next inhale, we'll bring the hands to the shins to look to the front of the mat, half lift. Crawling the hands forward, we come into our first straight arm plank. Checking in here, noticing breath. We release to the left knee. We reach the right arm high, planted through the left hand. Option to lift the right leg here or stay in supported side plank. You're always welcome to come into this supported half moon pose. Dropping the lifted foot, we turn back in, find plank again. Steady, strong, focused. Releasing to the right knee. We lean into the right hand, lift and lengthen through the left arm, coming into supported side plank. Option to stay there or lift and float the leg. Again, here's your modified half moon. Chest is nice and open, shoulders stacked. Breathe. Turning it back in, we reestablish our plank pose. Next, exhale, we lift for our first downward facing dog. Notice shoulders, notice low back, scan the hamstrings. Readying ourselves for the full flow, we release down into wide-legged extended child's pose. Head down, noticing the spine here. Option to stack the forearms or the hands and rest the forehead upon them like a little shelf, if the head and the neck need extra support. Perhaps giving the low back a few extra breaths, eventually reaching the arms forward. We're going to glide the torso forward, lift the hips, tuck the toes, and spring forward back into plank pose. First Vinyasa, Chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale back into downward facing dog. Check in. On our next inhale, we're going to lift the right leg high for three-legged dog. Bending deeply, we're going to open the hip and fire hydrant the leg here. Turning it back in, lifting it high for sky, bringing it under the body for a crunch, reaching it back up. Next, exhale, step the leg through, plant the foot, runner's lunge to begin. From here, we're going to plant the left hand and reach the right arm up, twisted low lunge. Stepping back into full side plank, we reach the top arm overhead and we take 3 crunches here, top elbow, top knee. After we've crunched the 3rd time, back to plank, we shift through our Vinyasa. Connecting breath to movement, meeting ourselves back in our downward facing dog. On our next inhale, left leg reaches high. Bending into the lifted knee, we're going to open the hip up here and fire hydrant the leg. Hands still planted firmly, chest still reaching back towards the grounded leg. Inhale, reach that leg back up high. Exhale, crunch knee to nose. Inhale, lift and lengthen. Exhale, step the leg through, planting down through. Right hand, the left arm will reach up high, twisted low lunge. Stepping back into full side plank here. Shoulders stacked, we then reach the top arm overhead and take our 3 crunches. Again, top elbow, top knee, counting them down. After the 3rd round, we're back in our high plank. From high plank, we shift through another vinyasa. Again, connecting your breath to your movement. Meeting back in downward facing dog. We take a moment, regroup here. Nice big inhale all the way through the tailbone. Looking forward, I exhale, step or hop the feet forward, coming into a forward fold at the front of the mat. Checking in. Again, the head is low and the hips are high, keeping bend in the knees if the body requires it. I inhale, hands to shin bones, half lift. On my next exhale, I come right into Utkatasana chair pose, sinking the hips back, arms forward, then hands like prayer to the heart. I'm gonna hook the left elbow over the right knee, prayer chair twist. Stepping my left leg back, I'm in a prayer twist in my high lunge. Steady through the feet and legs. I inhale up through the torso, keeping the prayer hands at the heart. Breath steady, squeezing the inner thighs in, finally opening up into my first warrior 2. On the next exhale, I'm going to reverse my warrior 2, keeping the front leg bent forward, back foot firmly planted. Inhaling up, warrior 2 arms, I straighten the front leg. I extend forward, and release that arm. And stack shoulders here, finding my triangle pose. Chest is open, gaze can lift here. Feet firmly planted. I look down. I release the lifted hand. From here, I plant it and I reach the opposite arm up, turning the front foot in for a Prasarita twist. Doing my best to keep that right hip pulled in. When I'm ready, I release the lifted arm and I come into my full wide-legged forward fold. Here you have options. We don't have to bring forearms or head down. We can heel toe feet in or out. We can take fingertips to the mat, perhaps to a block. We find the Prasarita that works for our body, mindful that feet stay nice and rooted and hips stay high. Inhale, half lift. Nice long spine here. Finally, sinking into our Skandasana or our side lunge at the back of the mat. Hands can come to prayer at the heart, or you can keep them down. Crawling forward, I change the footing. I rise up safely into my high crescent lunge. Chest broad, arms long. I lean forward for rocket pose. I'm hovering the torso over the front thigh, arms extending forward. I sweep the back leg up to lift it and come right into tree pose. Choose your own adventure with those arms and hands. They can stay at the hips or prayer at the heart. You can get as creative as you'd like. From my tree, I come to one-legged mountain, arms reaching high. Eventually, arms reach back with the lifted leg, and I come into what's called airplane pose or warrior 3 with arms reaching back. Exhale, release to your fold, check in. head low. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, lift the heart, upward facing dog. Exhaling back in a downward facing dog. Check in. How is the breath? Where is the breath? Nice big inhale here. On an exhale, I step or hop up, forward fold, closer to the front of the mat. Head releases, hips are high. Next, inhale, hands to shin bones, half lift, long spine. Exhale, sink hips back, come right into your chair pose. From chair, we're going to bring hands like prayer to the heart. Now we're going to twist to the left here. Chest stays open, hands stay like prayer. Right leg steps back. We're in a prayer twist in our high lunge. Steady through the legs. Breath intact. On an inhale, we rise up. Broad through the shoulders, long through the spine, keeping the hands like prayer at the heart for our twist here. Opening up, warrior two. Gaze just over that front hand. We exhale, come into our reverse warrior two on the opposite side. Mindful of the feet, mindful of the front knee. We're going to inhale up, warrior two, arms, straighten out the front leg. Reaching forward. We're going to release that left arm, right arm reaches high for sky, coming into our triangle pose here on this side. From here, we lower the gaze. We turn the front foot in. Planting right hand, we're going to reach the left arm high for the ceiling, Prasarita twist. Mindful of the shoulders here. Finally releasing into full Prasarita. In our wide-legged forward fold, we find what works best. Perhaps dropping to the forearms, the hands, the head. Option here to come into your tripod, handstand or headstand if you'd like. Option to come into your headstand. Option to stay put. Always feeling free to utilize props if need be. Inhaling, half lift, nice long spine. My next exhale, I'm going to sink into Skandasana at the back of the mat again. Hands can come to prayer at the chest, or fingertips can stay rooted at the mat or the floor here. Steady breath, safe front leg. I crawl it all forward, change footing, turn forward, lift high. I find my high crescent lunge. Chest open, perhaps the gaze lifts. I lean forward to hover the torso, rocket pose. Arms still extending forward, shifting the weight forward when you're ready, sweeping the back leg up to lifted, right into tree pose. Again, arms go where they will. They can stay at the hip creases. They can stay like prayer at the heart. You're also welcome to float your tree, taking that lifted foot and moving it away from the inside of the grounded leg. Finding a tree that works for your body here. Coming into one-legged mountain again. Here, we lean the torso forward, arms reach back, as does the lifted leg, coming into airplane pose or warrior three with arms reaching back. Steady. Releasing on an exhale, forward fold, head drops again. Inhale, lift halfway, shift back to chaturanga. Inhale, lift the chest, the gaze, upward facing dog, tucking toes, lifting hips back into downward facing dog. From your down dog, you're going to release once again, regrouping, sinking back into your child's pose, arms long ahead, or finding that support that you need. Here, we take a moment, we reconnect with the body. We can crawl both hands towards the right side or beyond of the mat. Take a nice side body stretch. We can also just stay put. Finding the side body stretch that works for you. Inhaling, I look to my hands. I crawl through the center point, come towards or beyond the left side of the mat. Head releases heavy between the arms again. Perhaps here we stack hands if we need a deeper stretch. If not, we can keep hands put. Listen to the body. Again, you're welcome just to stay in wide-legged extended child's pose, maybe recalibrating that breath. From our child's pose, we're going to rise again, tuck toes, and spring the torso forward, coming back into our straight arm plank. Lifting into downward facing dog on an exhale. Breath steady again. Inhale, right leg lifts. Here on an exhale, we're going to shift the torso forward, keep the leg lifted, and come into one-legged plank. We're drawing 3 squares here. You start at the matching armpit, you move to the wrist, to the opposite wrist, and back to the armpit. After your 3 squares, lift that leg high for sky again, and then bring the knee forward between the wrists to release into what's called active pigeon. Here, hands or fingertips stay rooted. You can bend into the elbows, but the chest is nice and open. Spine is long. Careful with the low back here. Breathe. We're going to plant the right hand. We're going to set it up for fallen triangle. Here, the left arm is lifted, right leg underneath. Planting the lifted hand, we come back to 3-legged dog. From our 3-legged dog, we step forward, we come to a supported lunge, right into a twisted low lunge. Here, the right arm is high. We lift safely and slowly, coming into our reversed high crescent. So now that left arm reaches overhead, right hand is supported at the back leg. Windmilling all the way into our extended side angle. Option here to rest that front arm on the front leg, finding the side body stretch that works for us. We inhale, rising right into reverse triangle. Right arm overhead, gaze lifts. Inhale up. Extending forward, we're going to come back into our triangle pose. Right arm down, left arm high. Gaze can lift here. Again, always safe at the neck. Feet firmly planted. We release the lifted hand. We frame the front ankle. We lift onto the ball mount of the back foot, heels up. Folding over the front leg, we come into our long pyramid pose. Squeezing inner thighs in for stability. Breathing through this really big stretch. Inhale, lift, exhale, coming into a nice open chest lunge. We step through our vinyasa. Again, connect your breath to your movement. Eventually rising, hips high, downward facing dog. On our next inhale, the left leg reaches high, 3-legged dog. Shifting torso forward. Once again, we're coming into 1-legged plank here, perhaps pointing those toes. We draw our 3 squares. Remember, armpit down to the wrist, to the other wrist, to the matching armpit. After you've drawn 3 squares, you reach that leg back high for sky, prepping for pigeon on the other side. We want to keep it active here, so if we need to crawl the hands up a bit, keep fingertips rooted, but the chest is open, safe at the low back. Finally, planting that left hand, we're prepping for fallen triangle on the other side. Right arm up, breath steady. Bringing the leg under, reaching it back for the sky. 3-legged dog, right into our supported runner's lunge. Twisted low lunge here. Rising up to reverse our high crescent. Here the right arm reaches overhead. Left arm is supported at the back leg. Windmilling all the way into our extended side angle on the opposite side. Big side body stretch through that right side. Again, always an option to keep that front forearm on the front thigh. We're going to rise up, straighten the front leg, reach the front arm overhead and come into our reverse triangle pose. Breath steady, we lift up, warrior 2 arms. Reach the front arm forward, release it down. Back arm reaches up, stacking shoulders. Back into our triangle pose. Feeling into the feet, making sure you feel supported here. Gaze can lift. Finally, gaze is brought down. We drop the lifted hand. We frame the front ankle, lifting out of the back heel. We're going to come into our long pyramid pose. Again, squeezing inner thighs in, perhaps bending into the elbows to deepen the stretch. Front foot stays planted, gaze down. Inhale, lift. Exhale back into supported low lunge. Stepping back, plank. Lowering down, exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog, big back bend. Finally lifting into downward facing dog. Taking a moment, if need be, to reconnect with the breath. When we're ready, gaze is brought forward. We step or hop forward right into Malasana, finding our yogi squat. Here you always have the option to lift the heels, one heel, to place a block under the sits bones. You can also keep the fingertips down or hands at a block in front of you, trying your best to keep the spine long, the chest lifted, the seat low. We stay here for a few breath cycles. If we need fluid movement, if we need to turn in any way, keep ourselves safe, hands forward, release to the seat safely. Here we come into our Ardha Navasana, or our half boat pose. Rooted through the sits bones, long through the spine, broad at the chest, arms extending forward, gaze forward, core strong. Release all the way down on an exhale to your supine butterfly. Soles of the feet coming in, seat sinking down, belly softening, shoulder blades softening down. Noticing nice heavy head, arms just limp and long. Bringing the legs back to center, stepping the feet out to the outer edges of the mat, we windshield wiper the legs side to side, releasing the hips and the low back. Breath still steadying, perhaps slowing, noticing the heart. Inhale, reach the arms overhead, big stretch, and exhale, hug the knees into the chest. Option across the ankles if that feels good here. Option to rock side to side. Option not to cross the ankles, to pull the knees in tight and perhaps even lift face for knees, bringing the abdominals into it. Find what feels good. Finally, releasing the feet flat down, extending the legs forward one at a time. Feet will come off the mat as you lower down completely for your Shavasana. If you need to tuck the flesh of the shoulder blades under or wiggle at the seat a bit to readjust, do what you need to do here to find just a little bit of rest and integration. Still perhaps reconnecting with the breath. Softening at the face muscles, releasing the jaw if need be. Everything softens down, from the back of the head down to the heels, finding the entire body in space. If you need a little help or it just feels nice, you can bring a hand to the belly and a hand to the heart, drawing in just a little extra connection to the breath, to the body. Again, slowing things down, giving yourself permission to let things be exactly how they are. Eventually, we're going to bend into the knees. Reaching the arms overhead, you have the option to release to fetal and lift, or to rock right up to your seat, finding cross-legged, rooting through the seat, heart nice and open, hands come to prayer at the chest. Giving yourself a nice bow inwardly, noticing how you feel. Inhaling, gaze lifts.